Hey guys, wanted to welcome you to my YouTube channel. I'm happy to be here live with you, doing something a little bit different here. Thought it'd be kind of fun to do a live show. I don't do very many of them here on YouTube, and it's kind of cool. So anyway, I am going to today do a glass of water. I just wanted to keep it really simple. This is my last video of 2017, ready for 2018. This has been an exciting and interesting year. So we are here today, and I just wanted to show you real quick what I have set up. I am going to kind of keep this format here. I like to do live videos. I find them really engaging, and we can talk, and if you have questions, post them. I try to get at them right here. If not, I will get at them afterwards. So anyway, here we are, and this is my setup that I have. Today I'm going to do my demo on an 8x10 Masonite gessoed panel. Just really simple. And this is what I used for plein air, and I find that these are really useful and easy to use in one of these video demos because you can see what I'm mixing right here, and instead of my great big easel, which was over there. So I have this here, I have my glass of water, and right behind here, which you can't see, is my spotlight. And so it's directly shining on my glass of water. And then I just have this sitting on a stack of books and I just thumbtacked up just a piece of fabric. These are super easy. Your still life stations should be really easy to set up in your own homes. Just find a corner, or you can get a cardboard box, set it on the side. The key is to control oh, thank you. Thanks so much. All right, it's easy. The key to setting up your still life is to control the lighting. And so I have my window here in my studio. It's just closed off. And I could kind of block out more of these studio lights here, but I think that it's enough for today's example. So here we go. I have my setup. It's on a tripod. Over here off to the side is my little bucket of Gamsol painting. You can use odors, mineral spirits, whatever. Off to the side here, you can kind of see it. This is my linseed oil. And then so for colors that I have out today, I have titanium white, yellow ochre, burnt umber, and ultramarine blue, and a teeny bit of phthalo green. So just keeping it really simple. And so I'm gonna get going on my glass of water. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start out with just toning this canvas here. It's not really canvas, panel. Just gonna take a little bit of burnt umber and yellow ochre. And this is kind of generally how I will start any painting that's too dark. I like to start out with a toned canvas because it kind of gives me that medium value range to start out with, and it just makes it kind of simpler. So having that middle range, then I can work into it the darks and then the lights. Makes it easier. I feel like it's kind of like halfway done. Good to see you guys. This is kind of a fun format. I think I did live way back at the beginning when I started YouTube. This last summer. So we'll see how it goes. If it's kind of fun, we'll keep going. If it's annoying, then, think of something else. I like doing art videos, and we do a lot of them with what I'm doing here. And if you're kind of new to me, we just started up a business called Renaissance Creative Arts, and very excited about that. Lots going on. Okay, so that is toned canvas, as you saw. I just wiped it on, wiped it off a little bit. If you don't wipe it off a little, it creates sort of a really slick surface for your when you're trying to draw it on or whatever, and it just makes it really difficult. So what I'm going to do now is just take a little bit smaller brush. This is a size 2 flat. And I'm just going to loosely draw on where that glass of water is going to live on here. And even though it's a study, I still want to think about this compositionally in an attractive sort of format. So I'm just taking some of this ultramarine blue, burnt umber, making sort of taking that thin mixture that I had there a little bit. And I'm going to draw on where this glass is going to live inside this rectangle. And I don't want to make it too big or too small. So we're just going to I think that those are sufficient boundaries for this to fit in, top and bottom. From there, then I figure out if it's that tall, then looking at the glass itself probably is going to be about that narrow, right? So let's just go like that. Today I really do want to address with this painting lost edges and then refraction as the light shines through. We'll talk about those things. I just wanted to keep this a really simple study too. I know everybody's busy with their holidays and celebrations and different things. You got family over, you're going to go do different whatever events. Especially here as we're approaching Friday evening, people are getting ready for different things. So I appreciate that you guys are here and we're doing this together. If you want to paint along, that's fine. Totally acceptable. Trying to get the shape of this drawing here, and I always draw on my images with a brush, and I just thin it down, a little bit of Gamsol, turpentine, whatever, and keep it simple. So what I'm doing too to get that it's perspective. To deal with that perspective properly in this setting, I'm looking at the background space. So, and that's what I do when I am going out doing planariing and I have a building or whatever. I look at the background space around an object instead of fussing around with the 1-point, 2-point perspective and all the lines and angles. I find it just easier and faster just to get it down with looking at the background. And in this case, I'm looking at this tabletop. And if I lay my brush perfectly horizontal and I'm squinting down, and right now this brush right here is on that glass over there, is landing right at the bottom of the corner of the glass. The point is I want to try to check the angle that that's sitting on, because it's kind of a square glass, so it's kind of angled. So I'm looking at this, and that's about a 45-degree angle from, if I were to give this a straight line under here, the angle of that bottom of the glass is sitting about 45 degrees off of the straight line. So just keeping that in mind, that's about that perspective. All right, and then this one over here, if I'm holding this straight, that's a lot more of an acute angle, more like that. And then these lines up here are going to be parallel with the ones on the bottom. So we'll get those about the same. And they're not exactly perfectly square. It's a little bit rounded. Oops. So look at that. And then this one comes about, if this angle is this way, that one's that way, and this one's this way. The exact same. Same thing with this one. So in sort of by osmosis, you get the top elliptical of the glass. Okay? So this right here has, like if you look at my hand, you don't see very much of that surface. But as we drop my hand down, you see obviously a broader surface. That's what's happening inside here. So this elliptical on top is narrower. And then as it goes down, I'm going to make this square inside here like open a little bit more. So you have that, you see more of it. You see more of that square, the surface. I guess that makes sense. So there's that. Okay, so that up there kind of got a little bit messy. Let's clean that up. I dipped my brush in the Gamsol, odorless mineral spirits, and then just wipe it off. And that's just a really fast way to erase. It's good to see you guys out there. You know, if you have questions or comments, go ahead and please leave them. I will get back to them when I'm done, and I hope that, or while I'm going, sometimes I can see them as they pop up. So if you leave one, maybe I can get at it quick. This is sort of a new format to me, so I'm not familiar with how YouTube does the live questions and things like that. So kind of fun. Hopefully I don't upset. I know some people don't care for that format, but yeah, we'll see. Okay, so I think that what I see here is that this diamond shape is a little bit flatter than this one, and I think that I'm on the right track with getting that going down like that. All right, so that feels fine. And now I'm going to go through and get some of these darker passages in here. And I'm just taking ultramarine blue and burnt umber and a little bit of the white. I don't want it really black dark, but I do want to get some of that darker tone in there. So let's get this right in there. And then it kind of comes around like this. And, oops, goes back that way. And then I see some of these, this kind of comes down like this. It sort of has a slight, not that much, not like that. And then this is gonna do this little number. And then behind here, I'll get some of these curtains, or the folds in the fabric. All right, so here we go. Grabbing a little bit of the blue and the brown. Let's get these in. And again, because even though it's just a study, I'm thinking about the composition too. And I don't want to, do compositional, bad things. So I'm thinking about where this fabric fold is going to go in light of this. And I think I don't want it to go right up in the corner. So let's make it come about like that. I think that looks nice. And then we'll do another one down here. That's about where that one is. And then I'll put the shadow back in here. Oh, great. Thank you. Thanks for letting me know you're enjoying it. All right. So it goes like that. And then, all right. I think that those are okay. About like that. So let's get these darker passages in the water here. And over here. All right. I think it's starting to look like a glass a little bit. I'm looking in the screen here to see how it's working. I think it's about at that place now where I can start adding color. So let's do that. Getting a size, let's do this, size 4, as I throw my brushes around. Hey Jim, good to see you. Some of you also follow me on Facebook, and so I just did this video on Facebook, and so if you follow me there too, you're going to get pretty much the same thing. All right, so size 4 flat. Let's jump in. Grabbing some of this titanium white and yellow ochre, painting those two colors together. I'm going to work now from the background to the foreground. So I'm grabbing some of that and mixing it in with the blue and brown mixture that I already had to get a nice, even, kind of warm gray. And so it's a middle tone range. Even though this is middle tone, it's a little bit browner than I like. So I'm going to go in with a little bit of this grayish brown and start mapping out where I see these middle tone folds in the fabric. When I squint down at that, this is about where I see them. And I really I want to make sure that I keep the focus on the glass, so I don't want the background to be too distracting. Just keep it really subtle. Thin pieces, I don't need it really thick, juicy paint back there, just a little bit. Inside the glass here, because I see that, it's transparent, so I just want to suggest whatever color's happening here, it's going to happen inside here. And someone had also asked about doing the glass half empty, half full. Do I do that on purpose? And I do, actually, because I want to demonstrate how different painting glass is as opposed to painting water inside a glass. You get the different refraction as it comes through. And the way that light travels through water is so different than what's happening with just this transparent spectrum there. Okay. So I think that that's kind of satisfactory right back there. We're just going to do a little bit thinner wash as that just sort of falls down into oblivion. All right. And I don't feel the need to paint all of that back up in there. That's not really what this painting is about, so I want to keep the focus in this area and keep my brush strokes. Backgrounds, I always say backgrounds are good backgrounds. You don't notice them as much. They're busy letting the star of the show shine. So that's where I kind of think it's important with painting backgrounds. All right. So there we go with that. Taking a little bit of the white and yellow ochre. I'm going to just lay in some of those brighter highlights and folds in the fabric back here, just to help give us a little bit more of a direction of where we're going with this. And that's inside the glass too. And over here, just a little. It doesn't have to get real fussy. Kind of comes down like that. Like that. Oh, really enjoying this demo? Good. Thank you, Myrna. I hope it's Myrna. Love hearing all the details. Good. I will make sure to mention those little things. Just getting a little bit more highlights. We were talking about doing some of these highlights in here. Just want to keep this back here a little bit quieter though. I think that where I was going was a little brighter. So we'll just keep that more subtle. Especially since I really want to set it off with the shadow of the glass. I love painting these shadows as the light comes through them. Okay. And I always lay in my paintings. I forgot to mention that at the beginning here. I like to lay them in with just the brush and turpentine and not a pencil because pencils are much more difficult to move around. And as you can see here, I'm making adjustments and rearranging things as I go, just a little bit here and there. I think that it makes it, you know, you're already kind of in that mental painting mode when you start these with the brush. Okay, so I'm satisfied now with that background. I think that it's pretty much where I want to go with this. So we'll get into the glass. So I'm going to work on up in here first, and then I'll move my way down to the lower parts of the heavier piece of glass. So let me switch brushes. I think that this is a nice one. What do we got here? This is a size 3. It's a filbert. At one time it was a flat, if you can see that. It was a flat. I grind them. Terrible. Terrible with my brushes. All right. So in doing something like this glass, I'm going to squint down at it and just look for those passages where I see just that darker tone, because I pretty much have a middle tone range there. My background's working for me a little bit. So let's grab some ultramarine blue and burnt umber. Mix those together. And I'm going to take some of this white that I already have in here, if you can see that, with the yellow ochre. Sorry, I'm just getting over a cold. Kind of sounds stuffy. Okay, so looking at the glass, I see that the rim has a darker, like a half crescent over here and over here. Okay, so that the glass itself is sort of like it's sort of a square, but it's kind of a rounded square. So I think that it adds an interesting shape to it. I'm losing my speak. Okay, over here. All right, and then straight down. I wanted to talk about edges on this painting too. So when you're painting, you can use edge quality to help in several ways. I like to use a sharp, strong edge where I want the eye to go. It sort of guides the viewer and say, look here, don't look here. A soft edge says, okay, go on, get out of here. So where I want the eye to travel in this painting, even though it's just a study, I'm still thinking about composition and making an attractive painting. I'm thinking about the eye traveling in this way and up and kind of out. Okay, so anywhere else, I don't need a sharp edge. So I'm looking at this the reality, and I'm squinting my eyes down at it. And if I only look where I want the eye to travel on that will tell me, that'll give me a guideline to where I want my sharp edges. So as I look at this and I squint down, I see a sharper edge right down there as my eye enters into the subject and up and around and out. So this edge over here is pretty much lost, so I can lose that right here going out that way. As I squint down at that again, I see that this passage in here is pretty much lost. So let's lose that right now. Okay. And then I'm looking for anywhere else I can lose an edge and find an edge. So I see that this edge down here gets pretty much lost. Clean my brush off. I'm like applying color trying to lose an edge. Like that. There we go. And then over here, I don't see an edge down here. So we'll just let that get lost. Okay, so where do I see edges? Hi guys, good to see you. Let's pull out an edge right here. Clean, decisive brushstroke. It's like watching a figure skater land a leap, whatever. It's much more attractive to look at a simple, strong brushstroke that appears confident than it is, 100 little flaccid, I wasn't really sure, so I'm just going to put a whole bunch of brushstrokes. Don't do that. Keep it simple. If it's wrong, if you got the wrong color, the wrong value, whatever, go back through, wipe it off, or just lay another color over the top. See what you can do to try to give the illusion of, nice, strong, affirmative. You'll find that people enjoy looking at that sort of confidence. All right, so coming back in through here, just cleaning this up a little bit because it got a little bit muddy up in there. Okay, so again, we're losing this edge back here, like that. Woo! What would it be without the sound effects? Sorry, I don't understand. So I will check your comments and things afterwards for sure. Oh, I wanted to tell you too, don't forget to subscribe and like down below if you like what you're seeing. Let's see, just cleaning this out. A little bit of passage in here. Like that. Okay, feeling better about that. You can really get carried away painting glass. You don't want to get too fussy fuss, because it can start to become overwhelming very quickly. All right, so that is feeling a little better. Feeling like that reads appropriate. All right. This in like that. I'll come back through here in a little bit with some of those more middle tone value ranges I see in here. There we go. Okay, back up here. Get distracted. All right, I like the lip there. Pulling this down. And then I'm going to lose this edge in here. So let's lose this right in through this passage. And over here a little bit. Okay. All right, so that is kind of starting to read the way I want it to. Thinking about the background here as it's showing through this transparent glass. Then I'll come back through there over the top with a little bit of this rim, is it where I want it to shine through. All right, now I'm just going to take a little bit of white, go in right at the top, just to isolate that there is the rim of glass there. And oops, down here. And I'm going to take this brush and just go straight down. There, maybe a little bit. You can go fling, like that. It's good fun. Okay. So there's that. Oh, I also wanted to tell you that all these paintings, a lot of them that you see on the videos, these demos are available for sale on my website. And I will put a link to that down below. All right. So now I'm feeling like that reads like transparent glass at the top here, if you can kind of see that. Now it's time to get into some fun. We're going to do the water down below. Okay, so as I look at the surface of this water, it's not picking up the light, so it's kind of a little bit darker surface right here. Okay, so I am going to mix up a little bit of just blue and brown, and then a little white and some yellow ochre into that. I think maybe a little bit more ochre, a bit more blue, and some white. And sometimes I get my brush too loaded, so you'll see me, I'll take and I'll swirl it on my palette box because I don't want to wipe it off on my paper towel. So I swirl it there, and it gets the paint off, and then I can go and just scoop up that paint so I don't waste it all. So let's see how that color is. That's too dark. Let's add some more white. There we go. Let's try that. It's always trial and error, isn't it? How's this? Is that going to work? Let's try something else. So I've decided then that this middle tone range here looks pretty good. But again, I don't want this edge over here to be really sharp, because remember, where I want the eye to travel is in this range. I don't want it going to the back of that glass over there. That is simply there as background to support what's happening in front. I think the real beauty of this painting is going to be down in here where the sparkles are and the reflections as they travel through. So like that. And I'm squinting all the time. You can't see me. I'm looking like a pirate over there. I'm like, looking at that, I see this grayer tone on the top surface of that water. And then, so that's what I'm doing right here. And then as it comes around over towards this corner here, it gets lighter. So, oops, that's a little darker. And then you can add a little bit of yellow ochre to that. It warms it up a little. Oh, thank you, Regina. Good to see you out there. All right. So that's okay. And I'm painting over the top of that one little switch that I had, but I'll pull it back in. And then in this corner, I have a nice lighter swoosh over here. And what I see here happening is there's a lot of reverses that happen during the course of painting glass and water. So I have, it's a little bit darker right here, and then where the surface of the water comes up against it, it's a little lighter right there. So we have that really nice contrast. Always be looking for areas of contrast, okay? So we have, this kind of comes down like that, and then it's darker here, and then it's lighter on the surface of the water. So that is a really great place to allow for that. All right. Somebody had asked if I can do a studio tour. I can at some point. I'll be happy to do things like that for sure. That sounds like a really interesting video. I will do that. Okay, so the light's shining through here. And if you've ever seen, you're talking to someone in a window or whatever, and the light is shining through, there's a strong, like the light, when you have like a bowl or iris like this, and the light is shining through, the light hits the back of it, and then you see like that pocket of really bright color. And so that's what I'm working on here, is the light's shining through. It doesn't hit the front of the glass, it hits the back. And so it's brighter back here, okay? Same thing painting marbles or anything. Okay, so that is that little bit brighter tone, and then I will be incorporating that also into the shadows. All right, and I'm also kind of just going back through here. A lot of times I end up on painting like this, so I think I need a moderator. Yeah, I think so too. That would be very nice. I think so too. So I end up painting like this, and then I have to go back and just double check that it's straight. So, and I'm just doing that right now, keeping my head very straight, like that. Okay, good enough. All right. Now, I'm going to go back through down on this side and start laying in that middle tone value range that I see in the water. When I squint down at it, I'm seeing just these sort of cloudy patches of where the water makes changes and so forth. So this is a little bit darker on top here of the surface, and then it's lighter as the water beneath it is picking up more of that light right there. And then over here, I'm seeing more of that lighter tone in the water right here. And remember, I put a highlight right there. So that comes down. You guys noticed the live stream somewhere? It feels that, actually, Jason, I made a comment yesterday on my feed about going live on Fridays. So I think I'm going to try to do this format, and I really like it, and I find it just kind of enjoyable, and I like the non-edited version of art. I think it's more in keeping with the spirit of art. And so that is how I paint, and I just enjoy it. So is the water through this? Yeah, I don't know. So anyway, if you got to stop about my feet, okay? This is not happening. And I'm going to block you, so please stop. Everybody else is trying to watch the video. Okay, thanks. All right, anyway, Friday. Yes, Friday, I'm going to keep doing this. I think that it is just really nice. I also do it on Facebook too, and I've been doing it this way for a long time. I really enjoy it, and I enjoy the camaraderie we get. Sketchbook flip, yes, thank you for asking me that. That's a great idea too. In fact, I wanted to tell you guys, I am going to be doing an online art academy, and that's going to be here soon. If you go to my website, renaissancecreativearts.com, I will be launching very soon an online art academy I'm going to start at ground zero with drawing and just very basic, very beginner, assuming, there's been no formal training or anything. And I'm going to teach in a very simplistic manner what I was taught and what I've been teaching for so many years of beginning drawing through a classical perspective. So I do teach that classical drawing. You'd be surprised. I start with the simple cartoon dog head. And so I teach drawing that way. Can I also paint landscapes? Yes, that's mostly what I do. So landscapes, still lifes, whatever. So I'm going to be doing an online art academy, and you'll want to check that out. If you're enjoying these videos and you like my teaching, I'm going to be having a whole lot of fun. I have taught for over 20 years, and I find I really enjoy this, especially this venue, doing video. And we just launched an 8-part video series called From Tuscany to Tipperary, and each video contains its own workbook too. They're all downloadable, so you can watch them anywhere in the world. And they're really exciting. We're getting a lot of good feedback, hearing how people are enjoying the videos already, and they're just really getting a lot from them. We've traveled all over Tuscany and Ireland, capturing plein air on video. But they're not all plein air. Some of them are still lifes and some studio work. So I talk about painting in the studio too. So there is that. I think you'll enjoy it. Okay, so here we go. What I did here, and if you're watching, I'm just kind of taking simple, subtle masses there's just a subtle gray tone in here. And so, is it important to have a steady hand? I think so. What I do to steady my hand is I lock it right here on the edge, and I just drag it down like that. You can do that way. And so I just keep it really simple like that. You can see my finger's pretty much always here or even on the empty part of my painting. Someone had asked a question about talent versus practice. That's a great question. I think a lot of these questions I will address in the online art academy as well, because a lot of people feel maybe a little bit discouraged if they don't have, I wasn't born with talent, so I can't be an artist. Well, that's just simply not true. I believe wholeheartedly that anyone can learn to paint. And what I think maybe some people are born with is the passion, the desire to do it. That's something that you really can't teach. But what you can teach is a whole lot of technique and all that. And I think that eventually, too, passion can be adopted. So, particular artist, I missed that. I'll catch it later. I think you were asking if I have a particular artist that I like or admire. And I do. I have artists alive today that I hold very highly, high esteem for. Richard Schmid is fantastic. And, let's see. He does everything, plein air, still life, landscape, whatever. Beautiful, beautiful. I do, for still lifes, my favorite artist is Chardin. For landscapes, I love George Ennis and so forth. All right, so getting back to this, what I'm doing here now is I'm content with the background and the color of the water as it sits in here, and then I'm going to go back through and was just pulling out a few of those little subtle accents and details that had been lost. So I was pulling out those, and I'm content with the value as I see them. And every now and then I step back and I'm checking, does it still have the look of being a glass? How does the perspective, has it gotten wonky? Because things can get lost in translation. And so just double checking on all those nuances here. This right there looks like that needed a little help. Like that. Pulling that over. And again, I'm going to lose these passages in here. I wanted that edge there completely lost because I think that helps break that up. Let's pull that in. Let's lose this edge again. Okay, that's starting to feel better. Let's lose this edge. And that's just how I lose an edge, just like that. You can just swipe it off to the one side or this side. Okay. All right, now I'm going to work on some of this fun stuff down below here. So, what teaching method would you recommend for drawing and painting portraits, figures, and portraits? Well, there's all kinds of things as far as painting the figures and portraits that you could employ for technique. A lot of technique is very personal, and as far as what you're comfortable with, that's a very personal question. I know what I'm comfortable with and what I enjoy teaching and what I have found a lot of success with teaching as far as people kind of being able to grasp and understand. So when I teach portraits, they're so complicated. I have found that the best means of teaching portraits to people is to use either sight size or comparative. I start from a photograph and then we work from there. And even a black and white photograph is best too, especially if you can get that strong contrast so you can start isolating bone structure and things like that. People can get really carried away with color and brushwork and all these other, you're driving a lot of horses at once. If you can just focus on essentials, likeness, drawing, and so forth in the beginning. And the easiest way to do that, if you want to paint and do that, is with a comparative or sight-size method for that. And so those are all things I'm going to be teaching in the academy as well. Some of the videos I have here on YouTube I do talk about, I have a couple portraits videos where I'm talking about the comparative method and measuring and so forth. And I think that people find it's very helpful, very useful. All right, so what I'm doing here now is I'm squinting down at the bottom of this glass, and I wish I could zoom in and show you a little bit better what it looks like up close, but maybe if you're watching, or you can zoom in or whatever, but anyway, getting that nice middle tone. It's kind of an abstract shape. And while I'm doing this, I'll answer, somebody had asked about a grid. Grids are okay, but the way that I teach figure drawing or portraits, or even, just something as simple as a still life, it's sort of a grid. You're sort of using that. I drop lines and use plumb lines to help with that. And, And so I'm just squinting at that and mapping out where I see these middle tone gray ranges in here. And the light shines through over here. That way it's a little bit lighter. All right. All right, so coming through here now, I'm also painting this passage in here a little bit thicker and richer because this is an area of focus. I'm going to lead the eye in this way, so I'm using richer, brighter, thicker color. And then as I lead through and out, the paint strokes and the thickness gets a lot thinner, if that makes sense. And so over here, the color of this edge of the glass is almost lost to the background, but it's a little bit grayer than the background. So just go like that. A little bit down like this. And then I have some nice, sharp, strong accents over here. So I'm going to take ultramarine blue and burnt umber and just making a little bit, it's dark, but it's not black, passage in here where there's that sharp, like that, and then comes around and over here, and this is where you want to squint down, and you just squint down and you do little pieces of color and simple, clean passages of paint. And over here. I think that is starting to read like a glass of water. Okay, so it's getting things done. All right, now I'm going to come back through and just add in my little sparkly highlights. So I'm going to take some white and a little bit of ultramarine blue and just mix up a really soft, light baby blue mixture, because some of the light as it's shining through the glass creates sort of that bright sky blue effect. And this is where you really start to see things start to sing. It just has that really pretty refraction. And remember, as the light's coming through, it's hitting that back corner of the glass, and so it has more of the sparkles and shines back there. So just going to take some clean white and pop in a few zingers. Right around in here. And then I do see some more up in here as it comes down, like that. Okay. And then a little bit, I see one up in here. So we'll give that a little bit of shine right there. How should I go about it? Oh, I missed that question. Sorry, I'll have to get to them later. It just shows me the question for a really quick time, and then it just kind of goes away. So I will get to your questions and comments later and all of that. All right, now I'm content with that, and I'm going to go through and do this shadow back in here. And it's kind of more of a blue and blue-gray. So that's what I'm mixing up here. Just gonna lay this down really simple. Let's do that a little bit lighter. If you can see what I'm doing there. Okay. Really simple. And the way that this goes back is darker. The shadow is darker up close to the glass, and then as it goes away, more light filters in, and so the shadow gets lighter as it goes away from the strong contrast source. So let's do that. Right here as it comes up next to the glass, it's darker, and then it goes away lighter. Using softer strokes too as it recedes. Let's just let that go back. And then I think I want this to be a little bit lighter back here. Yeah, that's fine. That way, by making that a little bit lighter, it made the shadow kind of pop out a little more. And then, right as the light shines through the water, and same thing with a marble or anything, as the light is shining through it and it creates a shadow, there's always this spot right back here that just is this beautiful glow. And so I'm going to catch that with white and a teeny bit of yellow. And I'm going to go right back here and just lay that down. A very simple stroke. Soften that. I don't want a really sharp edge. Drawing the eye. Okay. Just kind of makes it interesting. Okay. Let's get a little bit more of that highlight right there. All right, now I'm just going to put the I call it sunspot, it's the warm hot spot right here on the tabletop where the light's hitting it most intense. Getting a little bit bigger brush, this is a size 6. Flat. Grabbing right into my white and some yellow. I want this nice and thick here. Let's lay that down. Commit like you mean it, right? Okay. And it goes back this way. A little bit of linseed oil helps thin it down a little. That's the only medium I choose to use. And I'm going to take a little bit of this bluer grayer mixture off to the side here because I want a little cooler tone here just to help keep the focus right in the middle, right in here. And of course, you know, this is just a study. It isn't intended to be a finished painting. It's clearly just a demonstration showing how I go about painting refraction and glass and water and losing edges. So I hope that has been helpful and interesting, and I wanted to thank you guys so much for joining. Again, if you liked what you saw, don't forget to subscribe and hit like if you enjoyed it. Thank you so much, and I will also put a link down below to the website that I was referring to. Thank you so much, Technique. All right, thank you guys. Have a good New Year's. Be safe.